Hatteras life-saving station that there was no way or no hope that those crew members from the life-saving station could make it out to their vessel. And they talked about what they should do. And many of the sailors decided that they thought their best option was to get in lifeboats because they were afraid the pounding surf was going to break their steamship apart. That was the second fatal mistake. 2 lifeboats were lowered over the side of the vessel, and more than 24 of the 30 crew members got in those lifeboats. As soon as they hit the water, they immediately capsized, and all of those sailors were thrown into the frigid Atlantic Ocean. Remember, it was December. Now, the life-saving crew at Ocrafolk at the Cedar Hammock Station, under the command of Keeper James W. Howard and his 6 surfmen, had in fact seen the distress flare, and they immediately set in motion the rescue operation. When they arrived at the wreck, the first thing they had to do, they heard sailors in this surf trying to get to shore. And in an act of bravery and courage that is hard to imagine today, but in that December weather, the lifesavers made a human chain by holding onto each other's hands and walked out into the raging Atlantic Ocean and pulled several of the sailors from the Ariosto to shore and used artificial respiration to bring them back to life. Once they had done that, they set up their beach apparatus. They fired a line from the Lyle gun to the vessel. It took them actually several attempts to do that because the boat was about 600 to 700 yards offshore, which was at the extreme limits of what they could do with their beach apparatus. But eventually, they got a line on board the vessel, and they were able to bring all of the crew members who had stayed on the vessel to shore in the breeches buoy. Had everyone on the Ariosto stayed on the boat, they would have all been rescued by the life-saving crew. As it was that night, only 9 survived. 21 men from the Ariosto died that Christmas Eve of 1899. The survivors were taken to the life-saving station, given warm clothes, something to eat, and they were put up for the night. The next morning, of course, was Christmas Day, and the lifesavers and their families who lived down there at Cedar Hammock invited the survivors from the Ariosto to join them for Christmas dinner. They stayed for several days after that until the weather cleared up, and as it turned out, the Ariosto never did break apart. It was completely intact, and the crew members who survived asked the lifesavers if they would row them out to the boat to retrieve some of their personal belongings. And they did that. Captain Baines went out and insisted on bringing back to shore the platform rocking chair from his cabin. When he brought it to shore, he presented it to Keeper James W. Howard, who was my great-grandfather, as a token of his gratitude for saving his life that night. That chair has been passed down in our family, and today it sits in my living room as a reminder of that tragic event of 1899. And stories have been passed down among older members of our family that Captain Baines, actually the ghost of Captain Baines, revisits Ocrafolk every year at Christmas time to come back to that site of where his ship met its disaster and to just be part of this community again. And usually when I'm sitting in my living room on Christmas Eve, Christmas carols playing on the radio and sipping some eggnog, sometimes out of the corner of my eye I'll catch a glimpse of Captain Baines's rocking chair, and I'll see it gently rocking all by itself, as if someone were sitting in the chair. And I think to myself, that could be Captain Baines coming back to sit in that rocking chair. And then again, it could be the eggnog. And that's the story of the wreck of the Ariosto, Christmas Eve, 1899.
there's one audience member over there who really wants to go home. Next up we have Serge Grekovetsky and Robert Rayburn and Lou Castro. They're going to do something. Are you the Jazz Society tonight, or just parts of? They are members of the Ocrafolk Jazz Society, which Serge has started. And they're going to do a couple songs for you. This one's going to go to sleep very soon.
About 5 years ago, one friend of mine in London died 1 week before Christmas. And what we're going to do now is to play what I played for his widow for the Christmas they never had. Well, actually, I do that because Lou has a tendency to speed up.